So, hi everyone. Welcome to this month's Chinwag. We thought we'd do something a little bit different this month, seeing as we've had 2 months of fundraising-based sessions. So really excited to welcome Ben this evening to join us. So Ben's going to tell you a little bit about where your money's going, who you're supporting, and where we work out in Kenya. So I'll hand over to Ben to take it away. But if you do have any questions at all through the presentation, pop them in the chat either to myself or Simon, and we can ask them a little bit later on. Okay.
Right, cheers, Harriet. Let me just figure out the share screen malarkey with you guys. Is that working, Harriet?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Right, awesome. Yeah, evening everyone, and I suppose a delayed hello to everyone watching the recording back. I think the first thing I want to say is I just really hope that you guys are all well, given everything at the moment. Like, obviously COVID is having like different effects on different people, but I think it must be particularly rubbish if you're in the middle of your degrees. So I just want to say I really hope that you and your friends and family are all doing okay, yeah, given the situation. So to quickly introduce myself, I'm Ben, I'm CEO at Dig Deep. I started off as a student fundraiser. That's the start of my charity journey up at Durham University. This is a particularly embarrassing photo of me about 5,000 years ago when I did my first ever rag raid. I then started volunteering for Dig Deep while I was still a student, and I then became the first UK-based member of staff. This is my first ever fundraising page for Dig Deep. As you can see, I got a little bit carried away. The reason I put this up here is I just want you guys to know that I understand firsthand the challenges of student fundraising. I know how hard you guys work to raise money, which is why I think it's so amazing that you, our student fundraisers, are currently our biggest single group of supporters. It's fair to say that everything that's happening in Kenya at the moment wouldn't be happening without your support. So over the next like 15 minutes, I really just want to give you a snapshot of what you've already made possible through supporting the charity. Firstly, so that you just know about the impact that you've had. But secondly, I think it's kind of insight that would be really helpful whilst you complete the rest of your fundraising. So I want to kick off by telling you a bit more about who you're helping. So I find that when you're talking about people and situations that are literally thousands of miles away, it can all seem a bit abstract. So like, as you guys probably already know, like we work in Kenya in a county in the southwest of the country called Bomet. About 1 million people live there, and I just want to take the opportunity to introduce you to a few of them. So first thing to say is that Bomet is like absolutely stunning place. It's really beautiful. I've spent years of my life living and working there, and I certainly haven't been anywhere that's more welcoming. The way of life in Kenya is like largely, not entirely, but largely determined by your tribe. So for those who don't know, Kenya has 42 tribes and about 68 languages. There's a lot going on. But in Bomet, the majority of people are from the Kalenjin tribe, and they speak a mixed group of languages that all come under the label of Kalenjin, which I speak a few words of very badly. Just to give you like an idea of what day-to-day life's like, I'm just going to show you an example of where people live, where people learn, and where people earn. So this, in terms of like where people live, this is an example of like a typical house you'd see around Bomet County. I think you could say this is maybe like a equivalent like a middle class house. Like it's got tin roof rather than straw roof, and there's a decent amount of land around it for cultivation. In terms of learning, this is a pretty typical school in Bomet. As you can see, it's pretty basic. Like there's dirt floors, and you can see through most of the walls. But that's not to say there isn't a lot going on here. So probably the first thing to get your head around is that the kids here are learning in English, which is in some cases their third or fourth language, because you start off learning your mother tongue, so this would be Kalenjin here, and then you learn Swahili, and then you learn English, and so I always find that incredibly impressive. And I think actually it might have been the time this picture was taken. I remember vividly remember getting dragged into like a maths class, and the kids absolutely rinsing me like 12-year-olds because I just couldn't keep up their trigonometry. education is very highly valued in the communities there, and it's amazing what they managed to achieve with such limited resources. And in terms of how people earn, like I showed you like the land around the house earlier. So majority of people work the land, but most also operate as effectively sole traders. So this is the local salon, which is opposite our office in Beaumet. And this is Madame Joyce, who is, she runs the local fruit and veg shop, which is again opposite our office. I know when she's working because she's figured out I'm a vegetarian. So she yells, "Bennett the vegetarian," across the street at me whenever I'm out in Kenya. She knows I'm pretty fond of avocados. I guess the point I'm trying to get across here is that while there are a lot of challenges that people face in Beaumet, I just want to stress that, you know, everyone is just great, normal people cracking on with life. And, you know, normal life does go on as usual. And it's a really, really lovely place to visit and somewhere that's very, very close to my heart. So secondly, I want to focus on the problem that you're helping to solve. So in Beaumet, 8 out of 10 people currently don't have any access to clean drinking water, which means they're forced to drink water which is of this kind of quality. And I don't think you need to be a doctor to know why that's not a good idea. At the same time, 8 out of 10 people also don't have access to safe sanitation. So this is a picture of a toilet. It's the only toilet for an entire primary school. I could have shown a much worse picture, and I've visited many primary schools that have no access to toilets at all. This is a really big problem because diseases from dirty water and unsafe sanitation are killing more people every year than all forms of violence, including war. And when these diseases don't kill, they still have a huge impact. So for a kid, it can mean the loss of the opportunity to learn, and that can often mean the difference between dropping out of primary school and the opportunity to complete their education. And for a parent, it means the loss of opportunity to earn. So when Joyce is sick, there is no sickness benefit. There is no that she can claim. And appears a stat, the UN reckons that the time lost to sickness means that every year 200 billion is wiped off the global economy. It's a really, really big problem. I now want to focus on the team you're supporting. So the programs that we run in Kenya don't run themselves. I'm really lucky to have an absolutely brilliant local team of Kenyans, almost entirely from Bomet County, working really hard day in, day out to make our projects happen. So this is a team sat outside our office. This is a picture taken with me the last time I was out in Kenya, pre-COVID in 2019. Our office is bang in the heart of the community. It's actually right between, I think it's the local banks next door at the moment, a local woodworking shop. I think that makes us quite different from a lot of other NGOs, charities, to have our HQ bang in the middle of the communities we serve. And something that a lot of visitors comment on is that it's just so busy with people going in and out from the community, in and out of the office when you go and visit it. Mostly that's local people dropping in to say thank you for the programs we've done. But a lot of them also come in with really constructive feedback. And that's really, really important to us. That's one of the main reasons we have our office in the middle of our project areas, because it means that we are much more accountable in a lot of organisations, the people we serve. And we think that's really, really important. I just want to put a spotlight also on just one of my colleagues, Justice Tanui, who's our head of programs out there. Justice grew up with what are actually quite typical challenges in the area, but I find quite difficult to imagine. Like, his parents couldn't afford to put him through school, so he had to pay to put himself through. He's told me a few times how he achieved that by, for years, getting up at 5 AM every morning, working the land for 3 or 4 hours, going to school or college, getting home, working for another couple of hours on the land, and just repeating for years and years and years. But by doing that, he was able to put himself in school and then college and university. He went on to become a head teacher. And when he got to that position, he realized that a major problem facing communities in Bomet and many surrounding counties was there's absolutely no access to special needs education for the kids who need it. So he basically became a disability rights activist, and that ended with him founding a special educational needs school called the Small Home, which he grew from absolutely nothing into a centre of regional excellence. I met Justice in 2012 when Dig Deep helped the small homes get access to clean drinking water for the first time. Since then, he then volunteered for the charity for 5 years, and then in 2017, he went on to become our head of programs out there, spearheading our work in Kenya. Now, it really is the privilege of my life working with Justice. He's an incredibly inspiring guy, and the cause is just so close to his heart. He's experienced firsthand what it's like not having clean drinking water and safe sanitation, and he's just so committed to helping his community to overcome these challenges. He's only able to do what he does on a day-to-day basis because of your support. So I think, yeah, that's already one of the key impacts you're having by supporting the charity. I now want to focus on one of the big things you made possible, and that's bringing the joy of water. So I'd like to introduce you to Kamagunyet Primary School. There's 320 students there, and we currently have a water project under construction at the school. This is Mr. Alexander, who's the head teacher. And 8 weeks ago, before the water project started, he sent his kids on what has been, always has been, their daily task of walking a long distance to go and collect dirty drinking water because the school has no access to clean drinking water. By chance, when he did this on this particular day 8 weeks ago, he sent the kids out exactly the same time that the first delivery of materials rocked up for the water project. And I just want to show you a little bit of footage of the kids' reaction just to seeing these trucks turning up with the first shipment of materials that's going to bring clean water to the school. This is why these kids are so excited. Those tanks you saw on the back of the truck are currently being used to construct a rooftop rainwater harvesting system that will be finished in the next 4 weeks and will then provide clean drinking water year round to the school. Right now we've got 4 projects just like that under construction, and as I keep saying, these projects wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for all your hard work fundraising. You really have given the gift of clean drinking water. And it really, really, really matters. Back in 2012, none of the schools that we've since provided taps, toilets and training to were in the top 25 schools in the local league table for exam results. And right now, 7 of the top 10 are occupied by these schools. Like, the impact on attainment is just, it's so evident, so clear, the impact this has on the kids' lives almost immediately. And so, yeah, that's what you're helping the kids to achieve. The second thing I want to focus on is how you guys are making possible the fight against COVID in Kenya. So the truth is that the communities who work with the Bomet have never known a time without a pandemic. So whether you're talking about typhoid or cholera, they've faced deadly diseases all the time. And sadly, coronavirus really just is the latest addition. For obvious reasons, because of the lack of clean water and sanitation, these communities are also some of the most vulnerable on earth to coronavirus. Justice and the rest of the team have been on the front line fighting COVID since it arrived in Kenya in March 2020, just over a year, just under a year ago. And their main focus has been on a mass education campaign, getting people to install hand washing stations in their homes. Now, this has already resulted in just over 32,000 people installing hand washing stations at homes, which means they're able to protect themselves against coronavirus, but also obviously against other diseases like typhoid and cholera. But at the same time as this, the team have also been running parallel projects which are focused specifically on the most vulnerable people in the community. One of these is focused on the police and prison service. So this is a picture of Justice in one of the many police stations in Bomet County, giving some training to some local officers. Now, it might seem really strange that we're defining like the police and prison service as being vulnerable, but we found that they were actually extremely overlooked when COVID first hit Kenya and Bomet County specifically. Like they were told they need to enforce the lockdown rules there, but they really had no education at all on what COVID was and how they keep themselves safe and how they could keep people they were working with the rest of the community safe. And so it was absolutely vital that like without that key service knowing how to deal with COVID, there was no real chance for the county dealing with it as a whole. And so that's why our team stepped in to do that. We're also working with the prison service. So this is Bomet Central Prison. This prison, when we started working with, was on the brink of running out of soap, and so we just made sure those vital sort of services like that were in place for people. And you can imagine this, how quickly COVID could spread, or any other disease could spread in prison, which doesn't have soap, but people so quite closely packed together. What I really want to focus on is a project which our team has been running with motorcycle taxi drivers. That might seem a bit odd, but just bear with me for a second. Now, I've read some stats suggesting that about 3% of the population in Kenya are employed as motorcycle taxi drivers. Now, it doesn't. We've all learned a lot about COVID over the last few years, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that a motorcycle taxi driver is a big risk of getting COVID, and B, a big risk of affecting other people. But they can't stop working because they really are key workers. Now, this is what a lot of the roads look like in Bomet County. I think there's like 200 kilometers of paved road, which might sound like a lot, but across 1 million people, it's a very big area. It's barely anything. So most roads look like this. They're dirt roads. It means when it rains, they're almost completely impassable, unless of course you have a motorbike. So this is a good picture of the tractor being stopped, but motorbike going past. This means these motorcycle taxi drivers are absolutely critical to getting goods, people and goods and services from A to B, and they really are the backbone of the local economy. Given this, Justice said to me that there's a real opportunity to turn the risks these guys face on a daily basis into it's a real opportunity to help them actually stop COVID. The way he described to me is that these drivers are the information superhighway of rural Kenya. And he said that if we can teach them how to protect themselves against COVID and to get them to pass on this information to their families and their customers and their colleagues, we can have a really, really big impact. So the team set off to provide COVID safety training to as many motorcycle taxi drivers as they possibly could. They did 65 training sessions just like this. So this one was in a backyard. They were trying to find any COVID safe place to do this. This was in a construction site. This was in a random field. And once they completed all 65 of these training sessions, they'd reached just over 1,000 drivers and provide them with both masks and disinfectant and key training on how to prevent COVID for both themselves and their customers. The ripple effect of that is that we estimate will be that they'll pass on that education to their 5,000 family members. And because we were training the heads of motorcycle taxi groups, they then promised to pass on that training to just over 18,000 other drivers. So you can see how that expands out. I'd like to very briefly introduce you to Kennedy. He is the chair of Motorcycle Riders Association for all of Bomet County, so he represents all of those drivers. And this is quite a big quote to chuck into a presentation, but I think it's just worth focusing on. Like, first, he says he's very grateful to Dig Deep because their group is normally overlooked, assumed, neglected, and marginalised. And this is one of the reasons I'm so proud to work with our colleagues out in Kenya, because as well as running programs at scale, they also focus on those who most need of help. Something else to note here is that he talks about how he's been following us on social media and Instagram, and can testify to the fact that Dig Deep is doing a lot in the community apart from COVID-19 sensitisation. And I think that's something that, again, makes us quite different from other organisations. If you jump on, say, our Facebook page and you look at the analytics, you'll find out that 45 to 50% of the people following us on Facebook are actually from Bomet County. And so if you scroll through our Facebook feed, you'll see that the majority of people responding to updates on projects are actually people who are directly affected by those projects. Again, that's brilliant, because it's often, I think often it's difficult to believe a lot of stuff you see on social media, but I think when you see local people responding that way, it shows the genuine impact it's having. And again, it comes back to some of the reasons we have our office in the middle of the communities we serve. It means that we're totally accountable, so that if there are any problems with our projects, people just jump on Facebook and talk to us about it, and then we can rectify that problem, which is really important. Finally, I want to talk about the fact that you're helping us to reach 1 million people. So our wider vision is that we won't be leaving Bonnet County until we're sure that the county has achieved Sustainable Development Goal 6, which means all 1 million residents have access to clean drinking water, safe toilets, and good hygiene. To demonstrate how we're making that possible, I want to show you this picture. The first thing you might ask when looking at this is, why am I wearing tinsel? That's me in the back right there. I don't know why I'm wearing tinsel. Every time I go to an opening ceremony in Kenya, someone puts tinsel on me. But I think the most important thing about this photograph is a man stood in front of me with the green tinsel on, who is Dominic, or give his full title, Right Honourable Dominic Kosgei, who is the MP for Sotik constituency within Bonnet County. Although he's the MP, he's actually a local guy. As a kid, he went to one of the schools we went on to get clean drinking water to, but he was there obviously before Dig Deep was founded. And so he has first-hand experience as the challenges of not having access to clean drinking water. A couple of years ago, he walked into our local office and explained that he was so impressed by the feedback his constituents had given him about our projects that he wanted to invest government funds in scaling up our work. And this led to Dig Deep being the first ever international NGO to partner with something called the National Government's Constituency Development Fund. So this is us opening our first joint project back in 2019, and we've done many, many since. The reason this matters is that we've always known that it's local government and local business that's going to overcome the water and sanitation crisis. And it's Dig Deep's job to help them dramatically speed up that process. By joining forces, we're increasing both the amounts and the quality of the projects we're able to do collectively, which is just really, really important. We're now working together to create a plan for reaching all 1 million residents in Bonnet County. Now, I won't go into the detail of this. I've written a blog on it for anyone who wants to know on technical details, but just to give a few examples of this is the general plan. It starts off with making a vision for reaching everyone in the county, then strengthening institutions, then doing a big assessment, and then planning, and then implementing. But just focus on the assessment phase, for example. Like just yesterday, we kicked off a huge part of this. We are currently running a survey of 250,000 people within the county to find out exactly what their access to clean water and sanitation is. And once we have that big picture, we can work with the county to figure out the most effective way to reach all these people at scale. Here we have Dig Deep, and in the bottom right we have the logo for the Constituency Development Fund. And at the top we have you guys. As I said at the beginning, you collectively as our student fundraisers are the biggest single group of supporters for Dig Deep. You're an absolutely critical part of us achieving this mission, and as I say, it's absolutely no exaggeration to say that none of this work would be happening without all your hard work. So I just want to close by saying, from me, from the UK team, from the Kenyan team, from our partners in Bonnet County Government, and most importantly from all hundreds of thousands of people who are benefiting from all your hard work, just thank you, and doubly thank you for achieving what you've already achieved in a time of COVID. Like, as I said at the beginning, I started off a student fundraiser. I know how hard it is, but I can't imagine how difficult it is fundraising pandemic, and what you guys have done is just absolutely incredible. We're all jaw dropped by it. So thank you very much.